Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for the day. Now I just want to say I'm bringing back this video playlist in order to test new waters for the channel, and I want to say if you guys would like to see more, I need for you guys to help me push this video in the algorithm by liking, comment down below what you liked about the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel because when the video is pushed it gives me no motivation to make more of the same content. Alright, let's go. Welcome back to r/talesofneckbeard. Our first story comes to us from username mathematically untrue. The time I unknowingly befriended a creepy neckbeard. Now a little housekeeping here before I start. I'm in 10th grade and I'm a member of a high school robotics team. This story involves the girls on the team, specifically my friend who is a girl in 11th grade who I will call Sky. The neckbeard is a senior and I will simply refer to him as Beard. What I actually witnessed starts back when I was a freshman. Beard was junior and Sky was a sophomore. I had just joined my school's robotics team, but the funny thing was that Neckbeard was actually a serial neckbearder to literally every single female on the freaking team, and every female who was on the team in the past 2 years. Because, like I said, I'm only a sophomore and he's a senior at the time of writing this. I've only witnessed his time in the team for 2 years. My older friends on the team have told me that this main has literally been hitting on every single girl who ever existed on the team with him. But back to the story though, I was not aware of all of this shot going on with him and the females, and he presented himself as a nice person to talk to. That is the age-old trap, isn't it? I actually wasn't sure if he actually fit the description of a neckbeard entirely. He was a tall, skinny Indian guy who always wore long khaki pants, whatever the weather, and a t-shirt that usually was of some anime or game that I didn't know or care to know. He was known in the grade for being weird and annoying. Actually, funny enough, being bullied by my brother way back in elementary school. But again, he seemed alright to me, but he was more of a neckbeard the second you place a female in the same room with him. It started with a little shot that I picked up early on. He'd go out of his way to help the girls, specifically with tasks that involve heavy lifting, even when they don't need help. If someone was carrying a heavy box of robot shot, he'd say something like this: "Let a strong man get that for ya, or a lady like you shouldn't be carrying all that weight by yourself." And other than cringe at shot like that, I thought nothing of it. Just a cringy guy trying to be funny, I thought. Then I noticed that he would always compliment any girl who was wearing anything that was somewhat revealing. He'd stare from the second she'd walk in and say, "Nice outfit," or "I don't know what it is, but you look really good today," followed up by an awkward response from her saying "thank you" in a more of a question than a genuine thank you. But then shot really started clicking for me when we were working on the robot at his house. The whole team was there doing their stuff. I was doing whatever mechanical work I was doing when I noticed Neckbeard gazing at a girl on the team who was standing up facing away from us. Neckbeard then leaned over to me and said this: "Isn't she so hot?" Not really knowing how to respond because he asked me out of nowhere and he said it louder than he should have. I'm actually freaking surprised that the girl didn't hear his loud butt. I responded saying this: "I mean, she isn't that bad." He cuts me off and continues saying some stuff along the lines of, "Well, she's literally so hot and she doesn't even try to be. She's just naturally schmexy. All the girls on his team are so hot, but they don't want me. It's such a tease." I just dismissed the conversation by saying okay or something insignificant like that. At this point, I am kind of uncomfortable about him around women. I realized that it's not creepy to simply admire a woman, but when you put what he said in the context of what I was seeing, it left a bad taste in my mouth. But it didn't end there. The neckbeard was in the programming department of our team. The leader of that department, Sky, and he would call her over when he was having trouble and look weirdly at her when she bent down to help him on the computer. He'd also be weird when he was helping other girls in programming, hunching over them and speaking to them in a weirdly soft voice. For the rest of that year, my freshman year, the neckbeard would continue with the weird actions, and close to the end of that year, I started to pick up on the fact that all of the girls were freaked out by him. And in the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, Sky would actually tell me about how Neckbeard actually asked her out even though she already had a boyfriend. She said that they were both in break period together. She was doing some math when he came up to her, and this is no freaking lie, this is exactly what Sky told me about how Neckbeard asked her out. This man said this.
Hey, Sky, I have something I've been meaning to tell you for a while.
What is it?
It's really embarrassing. Can you please guess?
What? Guess what? Side note, at this point, she knew at this point that Neckbeard was going to ask her out, but she didn't say that because it would be pretty awkward, especially if she misunderstood.
Please guess. It's really embarrassing for me.
Bro, if you don't spit it out, I'm gonna ignore you.
Okay, fine. I love you, and that I've loved you ever since I met you on the team.
I have a boyfriend, and I don't like you like that.
But you mean so much to me, and we've had such a great times together. I'm a very nice person.
He went and said it. Okay, and I like you just as a friend. Just because you were fun to hang around with doesn't mean I want to date you. Plus, like I said, I have a boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
So even after this, Neckbeard kept staring at her every meet and complimenting her at every chance, as if being nice would increase his chance of getting her. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. I soon learned that summer, as I continued to build close relationships with my fellow teammates, that every girl on the team had a horror story that involves Neckbeard. Fast forward to the next school year, which is this current 2019 to 2020 year. Neckbeard is a senior and I'm a sophomore, and this new year meant a new robotics season. As the start of each season, we bring in new people from the freshman class, which also meant more girls for Neckbeard. We were worried that Neckbeard would scare off the freshmen from the team and make them quit. We added 3 more girls to the team, 2 of which were in programming, the department that Neckbeard is in. Off the jump, this man was creeping on them. On the first day, he was grading them and starting up with the compliments, "You look very nice," and helping them on their code with this "bend over and I'll get real close to them" tactic. We started to actually intervene when it started to get physical. Neckbeard would go up to them while they were waiting on their rides at the end of the meeting, and before he'd get into his car and say this,
"Can I get a goodbye hug?"
And when they said, "No, I'm not comfortable with that," he'd chase them pretending it's a joke and grab them until one of us had to break it up. He said, "No, Neckbeard, now go to your car," I had to say once. The final act of his neckbeardery was while we were building a robot at another teammate's house, when he cracked a joke about this fat kid on the team, comparing the size of his moobs to the size of a freshman on the teams.
"Your banongas are bigger than hers," he said.
The mood through the room immediately dropped. The girl he was referring to was not in the room, but nobody laughed and you could tell everybody was weirded out. But guess what? My guy didn't take a hint from that reaction, as he literally goes over to the room that the freshman girl was in and repeated the joke to her.
"His badongas are even bigger than yours."
He pointed at her chest while telling the joke. Everyone basically chimed in saying, "Hey man, that's not okay, get away from here." Neckbeard did not say anything else that entire night. Someone told our team mentor, our team is run by students but has 2 teacher mentors, and all the boys had to be lectured about inappropriate actions from the mentor. Despite this, he continued being creepy up until now, and now it looks like he's going off to college, which is good and bad at the same time. It's good because he's gone, but it's bad because he got to go 4 years of targeting girls without being held accountable really. I hope you enjoyed the story. I thought I'd never been a neckbeard before, but thought this would qualify as one. If it doesn't, then I hope it was a good story nonetheless. You always gotta kinda wonder what the end goals of these guys are by complimenting on people's and their appearances and stuff. Our next story comes to us from username RedditWitch23. Neckbeard stalks me and thinks he's being romantic. This is a long one, so get comfortable. So I work at a library, and as you can imagine, I've seen some weird dudes. This encounter with a neckbeard in the comic book section got bad quite quickly. I was rearranging some comics that hadn't been put back right when this guy taps me on the shoulder. I turn around and there he is. He was wearing a Captain America shirt, and he either had his hair slicked back with way too much product, or he hadn't showered in weeks. His smell would indicate the latter. He is also standing uncomfortably close, and I couldn't step back due to the bookshelf behind me.
"Hello, ma'am. Do you happen to have Batman the Killing Joke? I can't find it."
He still doesn't step back. "Oh, sorry, I believe someone borrowed it earlier today. Would you like me to help you find something else?"
"Oh, it's okay. I wouldn't want to bother a pretty lady like you."
He then takes a notebook out of his pocket and scribbles something into it before tearing out the page and handing it to me. "What's this?"
"My number, in case you want to call me later tonight."
"Why are you giving me your number?" He then shoves it into my hand and starts walking away. I had never thrown something away so fast in my life. Unfortunately, that wasn't the last I'd seen of him. I came back the next day and sat down at one of the tables at the cafe. Our library has a rather nice cafe, and I usually eat there before going into work. Not long after I had gotten my food, the neckbeard from before approaches me looking rather flustered and pink in the cheeks, as if he had just searched the whole library for me.
"Why didn't you call me?"
"Excuse
harass me? Why didn't you call me last night? I gave you my number.
Now, I actually had a girlfriend at the time, and I told him this. This was his response.
You're lying. Lesbians don't look like that.
Look, I'm not interested. Please just leave me alone. By this point, the rather muscular waiter, who I know moderately well, comes over to see what's going on. Hey, what's going on here?
I was just talking to this fine young woman.
I give the waiter the help me out here look. If you don't leave this person alone, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The neckbeard reluctantly trudges back to the door and down the stairs. I don't see him again for a while, but the next morning, I wake up to flowers on my doorstep with a note on it with his number. I can only assume that this guy followed me home. I threw out the flowers and go about my day. Around 10 p.m. that night, he appears on my doorstep in an old suit with chocolate and more flowers.
You still haven't called me.
Dude, if you don't leave me alone, I will call the police.
What? I haven't broken any laws. You can't do that.
You literally stalked me and have been harassing me.
I wouldn't have done that if you just gone out with me.
For the last time, I have a girlfriend. I take out my phone.
Fine, I'll leave you alone, but just know you broke a good guy's heart.
Thankfully, he did leave me alone. I saw him in the library a few times after that, but he avoided me at all costs and eventually just stopped coming. TLDR, Neckbeard tries to give me his number, and when I don't call him, stalks and harasses me.
Yeah, didn't you know the logic? If somebody forcefully puts something in your hand, you're obligated to follow them and call them.
On top of that whole stalking and harassing thing, you could also chalk up trespassing for him showing up on your doorstep. That would also be something you can get him for, especially if he didn't leave when you asked him to. Our next story comes to us from username Sharksnoot. Roleplay Creep. Oh boy. So, obligatory first time posting and all that, this story starts around a year ago. I joined a Discord server from an invite our creep gave me, and at first he was okay, roleplayed fairly well, and did all he could to make the server he ran better. But we all know this isn't a real story without where it goes wrong, so let's get to the storm. So it's around the time where everyone in the server normally talked together in voice chat, and people start leaving because it was getting late, and as soon as it's down to me, my friend Fee, and creep, he starts flirting. Me, being completely oblivious, didn't know why Fee left until he started doing it to me.
Oh, you're so beautiful. Why not go on a date with me?
He knows I'm underage. No, thank you, and you know I'm still only 15, right?
Oh, but you look so much like
some obscure character that I look nothing like. So, not much happens after, but we're skipping to later in that year. The secret is out that he harassed another server member, so my friends came together and made another server without him, and I didn't know what happened until I was told. He enjoyed harassing people. He liked pushing relationships on people. If someone dared to be a thespian, they got kicked, which happened to my ex that was my current girlfriend at the time. I find this out when I simply post that I'm in a relationship. He gets mad and word for word I repeat, "Why are you with that guy after all this weird shit he's done to you and should be with someone deserving like me?" My ex literally did nothing, just breathed. My ex was trans male to female and went on a tirade about how my virginity would be in better hands with a man such as him, followed by other stuff I'm not comfortable with. I was done only responding with, "Okay, and?" I promptly got kicked, and when talking about it to my other friends, they all seemed understanding and relate to me the same situation that happened with them. So not only is he angry and homo and transphobic, but he's generally into harassing girls that are underage. Thinking about it now and remembering the fact that he asked where I lived and if I wanted to be picked up makes me feel yucky. And that's gonna have to be it with the video. Now, if you want to see more of these story time format videos, I need for you guys to help push this video in the algorithm by liking it, comment down below, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And I really do appreciate the support. The positive feedback helps me give myself motivation to make more of these videos. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.